Good morning. This is not about me, but my name is Raton, and I am going to introduce a very good friend of mine. He has been a teacher in the Palm Beach County school systems. For 30 years he taught, and also he was a basketball and a football coach. I love basketball and football. Anyway, Larry is now, because of circumstances, he is now president of our local Braille Club, which is a social organization for people who are blind and visually impaired. We get volunteers. It's located now in Boynton Beach. It was in West Palm, but we moved, and Larry was very instrumental in the moving of the Braille Club. He got money, he got volunteers, he got just all kinds of wonderful things. Larry is a mover and a shaker in Palm Beach County. One quick story that I have to tell you. Larry has a lot of family members throughout the county. I was taking a Uber one day, and I got into the car, and the gentleman, of course, saw my cane, and he said, "You know Larry McDowell?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm his cousin." And I was like, wow, this man knows everybody. So it's my esteemed pleasure to introduce my friend, Larry McDowell.
Good morning. I hope you all can hear me. It's a pleasure to be here today. I hope you all receive the message and the love and fellowship it's delivered. As we come to the end of another Black History Month, I'd like to first I guess I'll go into the venue I'm most comfortable teaching. I'll ask you some questions and I want you to give some feedback. If I ask you who is George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Bill Gates and Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, I'm sure everyone in here could answer because you all know those people and I know those people. But I'm going to ask you some questions to see how much you know me. I know you. I want to see how much you know me. First, I'll ask you about 5 people. I'll give you their birth names, and you tell me the name that you know them best by and why they're famous. Or you can just give the name. Don't raise your hands because I probably won't see them. I'll start with Annie Mae Bullock. Anybody know who Annie Mae Bullock is? Tina Turner, right, good. Malcolm Little. Malcolm X, good. Elijah Poole. Elijah Muhammad. John Elroy Sanford. Sanford and Son, Red Fox, Sanford and Son. And Michael King Jr., Martin Luther King Jr. He was born Michael King Jr. His name was changed at the age of 5 when his father changed his name and his son's name to Martin Luther after he had gone to Germany and studied the Reclamation and Martin Luther. But those are just a few questions. I just want to break the ice, jump around a little bit. Uh, right now, we are facing a dilemma in Florida where people are asking, why teach Black history? Why study Black history? Or maybe if someone was in a classroom in Black history in Florida, they would know that the Pearl City in Boca Raton was established May 30th, 1915 by blue-collar Black workers who worked at the Boca Raton Hotel and different businesses in this area, so they wouldn't have to walk from Deerfield and Delray every day to work. They would know why it was named Pearl City, because of the abundance of pearls found in the harbor here. It was also, they would know about Mark Dean, who's the co-founder of the personal computer. He's an IBM fellow, an African American that lived in Boca Raton and studied at FAU. They would know something about Kizzmekia Corbett, Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett, who was the lead scientist on the development of the Moderna vaccine for COVID-19. You know, so there are a lot of things. A number of times people think that when you study Black history, you're just going to be talking about slavery and all the bad things. But just to give you a little history of how Black History Month started, does anyone know who is considered the father of, it was first Negro History Week? Does anyone know who started Negro History Week? Carter G. Woodson? Yeah. Carter G. Woodson is considered the father of Black history. At that time, it was called Negro History Week. Anyone know who was the president when Negro History Week first began? What president first recognized it? Calvin Coolidge. I know you all knew that. All right. So, but for 50 years, it was celebrated as Negro History Week. It had a few different changes in names. At one time it was Afro-American History Week, Colored People's History Week. And in 1976, it became Black History Month. And who was the president that signed it into recognition as Black History Month? Gerald Ford. Everybody knew that. Okay. It lasted for 50 years. It was Black History or Negro History Week. In 1976, it became Black History Month. In 3 years, it'll be another 50 years, and we'll talk about that at the end. But also, if you were studying Black history in the state of Florida, you would know about Eatonville, which was the first Black establishment as a city in the United States back in 1880. It got its charter in 1887, and it still exists northwest of Orlando, and it's still a city. They have a Zora Neale Hurston Festival there every year because Zora Neale Hurston, a author and poet from Eatonville, gained fame. One of her most famous books were Their Eyes Were Watching God. Some of y'all might be familiar with it. If you're not, it will be a good read. Also, there was a town about 100 miles northwest of us called Rosewood that was totally burned down and destroyed because man was accused of, African-American man was accused of raping a young lady that admitted later on that it wasn't true, but their town was burned down. Or even in Palm Beach County, Florida, a place known as Palm Beach now, right at the corner of North County Road and Royal Ponciano Drive, used to be home to about 2,000 African-American people, Black people, and they lived in an area called the Sticks. When Henry Flagler decided he wanted to develop all that land, They were invited to a gathering on the other side of the bridge, and all their places were burned down. They had simple, modest places, just huts and tents that they lived along the beach, but were burned out with nowhere else to go. They weren't even allowed back across the bridge to gather the few belongings that might have survived the fire. So these are some of the kinds of things that people would study or learn if they were studying Black history. But in 50 years, since that time, or the next 50 years ends in three years, in 2026, it will be 50 years of Black History Month. I think that we should look forward and ahead, because the accomplishments and the achievements of the African Americans in America has become too large for 1 month. We need to look forward to that. Not a Black History Year, but an American History Year. We need to start talking about, because things that happen to Black people in America is not Black history, it's American history. And it should be taught in all schools to everyone. When we start to tell the truth about who we are, we become a better people. You know, when we continue to tell kids in school, we continue to celebrate a holiday saying that Columbus discovered America, although he never came to the area that we call the United States now. The closest he got was the Bahamas. He never set foot on the United States of America, but we have holidays honoring him. He discovered a place where 60 million people are already living, with 1,500 languages and cultures of their own. One day I'm gonna go to New York and discover New York, but you know, that's the history that we're taught and told. So I think that it takes a common effort amongst everybody. And everybody says, well, why do we always talk about it and nothing is done about it? Because sometimes the problems of any community are like taking a drink of water out of a fire hydrant, and sometimes it's just too much. It's just too much to process. It's just too much to think about, so you don't even try. But I think we need an attitude change and a shift change, and not let the people who are supposed to lead us separate and divide us. If people studied American history, they would understand that on the Declaration of Independence, second paragraph says, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. 52 of the 56 men that signed that document owned slaves. So in the beginning, as they were signing their names to a document that they knew wasn't true, this is how our country began. It's time to correct some of those truths, correct some of those myths, stop being separated by the people who are supposed to lead us, and start being responsible with our vote, with our attitudes. We're all one people. We're not going to, the races that we try to separate are not going away. We have contributed as much. The first man to die in the Revolutionary War was a Black man named Crispus Attucks. There has been an African American or Black person die in every war or conflict in the name of America that has ever been fought. So don't let our politicians, don't let our leaders, so-called leaders, drive us down that path where we forget or try to take away the right to study what other Americans has contributed to this tapestry. I appreciate it.